Hello again. Today we have the joy of watching some footage of taking down a giant maple tree. As you can see, it's kind of there right in the center top of the screen, just waiting. I'd actually planned on getting footage from here and then trying to get like footage from up close to the tree, but when I got over there, the sawyer was already pretty far into it, and the tree was definitely starting to lean further towards the north, which is the right side of the screen. So I wasn't comfortable with trying to get any closer. I set the camera up where I thought it would be safe if the tree decided to go the wrong way, and then I figured I can move, but I didn't get too close to it. So he realized that it was starting to lean the wrong way also. He tried some wedges, and that didn't work, and you could see his axe blows to the wedges were actually starting to mushroom them. But here we'll jump into real-time footage. So they decided to get their tractor out. Now this tree is actually on our property, on our side of the property line, but it leans pretty far onto their driveway, and they had actually approached us about this last year, if we wanted to take it down and what to do with it. And that first little push was a little worrisome. And then there she goes. Now that sound was from I'm about 300 or so feet away, but this is the footage from the GoPro's point of view. It's actually a little interesting to see the difference in color between the cell phone and the GoPro. Can't say I've ever noticed that before. There's a lot of potential death in that tree. A lot of Widowmaker potential. So I have to admit, I'm kind of glad they brought their tractor out, because it has at least a canopy, which mine doesn't. I was about to go get to let them know I could. And that was a little bit muted because the GoPro is in its waterproof case. So we hung out and talked with them about the tree and what to do with it. We knew the plan was to fill it onto our side of the property, onto our property, because that is a access roadway that we don't actually use for anything except gathering blackberries. And so if it takes a little while to clean up, then there's no issue. I was actually amazed at how big the tree actually ended up being. We didn't get a tape measure, but I'm very confident that it was really pushing that 48-inch mark in diameter. He had a 36-inch bar, and it didn't even come close to reaching all the way across it. But I was also amazed. We thought that tree had actually been dead for a while, and that's one of the reasons we were a little bit worried, because branches tend to fall off of dead trees. But based on the amount of moisture that was in the tree to start, and based on the lack of rotting, I am suspecting that the tree actually died in that heat wave we had 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2021. Yeah, 3 years ago. I think that was the year we had the major heat wave. We lost quite a few trees on our property because of that heat wave. It was just unnatural, super extraordinary, and beyond what was expected. So we came over and we let them know that we would get them access, and showed her how to open the gate. That way they could come down, and we made the arrangement that if they wanted, since they felled it, if they wanted, anything smaller than about 8 or 10 inches in diameter, they could have, just straight up. And then anything bigger than that, I was going to keep so I could mill. And then I promised them that I'd save them a couple of the slabs from that tree. So that'll be coming in future videos. Then it was time to we got ready for a get together with some sawyers, some local woodland mills owners, and this was going to be my contribution. Was the two pork roasts in the middle of the smoker there. This is actually a smoker that a friend gave us. She no longer needs it, and it needed a little bit of love and tenderness. There is some rusting on the bottom of the cook chamber, but that's easy enough to work with. So this was my little setup, and I actually ended up getting rained on. So I put some of the wood down there on the bottom so that it could stay reasonably dry. The stuff on the right is maple. The stuff in the center, the light brown, almost reddish brown, is the hazelnut, and then the dark bark on the left, the 3 logs there on the left, are cherry. And so anytime I smoke meat, I put lumber I put salt in the smoker, and every time I check on the meat, I stir that salt so that it gets a lot of the smoke flavor built into it, and then we have smoked salt for whatever. And since it was starting to rain, I decided it would be a good idea to get a fire going so I could keep myself warm and dry. This was more just an excuse to get rid of some scrap junk wood. Here you can see the smoke is starting to permeate the salt. Like I said, I do this every time I do some smoked meat, and I do different flavors of wood, so I get all kinds of different flavors of salt, and it's surprising how much the different woods can actually affect the flavor. If you haven't tried it before, try smoking with some rose or lilac, some rosemary, for instance. They can all affect the flavor of the smoke, which then contributes to the flavor of the meat. So this is the steak, the roast that was on the right. This was something that Emily got just to basically to just have for us for dinners for a few nights. You can see it has a beautiful smoke ring, wonderfully juicy, and it was quite delicious. Would have been a little bit better if I'd have had a thermometer in the smoker. That was one of the things that was broken, so I was kind of guessing at the temperature, and I just kind of kept the fire big enough that I had good smoke flow and good heat, and tried to keep it small enough that I didn't have to worry about the meat burning. And you can see the bark on the pork roasts got a little bit darker than I would like, but they actually turned out quite amazing. So they were smoked today on this. When I did this, they were smoked for a little over 3 hours. I think it was almost 4 hours for the roasts. I put them back in after I pulled the steak and the salt off, and then we cut them into small sections and put them in the fridge. And then once they were cold, we vacuum sealed them, and then finished them in the sous vide so that they were kept at a nice 160 degrees for a little over 12 hours before the get together. So this was these are the two regulars aside from myself, basically, that show up for the. We've been trying to get some get-togethers to try and meet other sawyers in the area, and we've done. I don't know. I think this is the 5th or 6th that we've done so far in the last 10 months or something. And we'd at the last one we decided that since the weather was nice, we should take advantage of it and actually check out each other's sawmills. So we did this one. I volunteered to do the first one, so we did that down here in Mossy Rock, and Roy and Wesley were the guys that came, and it was fun. We talked about all kinds of different stuff regarding the mill and the differences between the 126 and the 130, and the fact that I have 2 extensions, which is nice because I can do a log that's really long, or as you can see on the mill there, I can actually do multiple logs. And then we came back to our little pavilion and had some smoked spare ribs and some pulled pork sandwiches and some pasta and potato salad and sodas and some chips. And at that point we just kind of ended up talking more about our property and the homestead and the goals and the structures that we've got built so far and things like that. And for our friends up in Renton, you can see that your gift of table and chairs has come in handy. We have this one set up here in the pavilion now, and we have the other one set up in our little spare room for the time being. So yeah, we had a good meal. It was amazing food from everybody, and we were able to just hang out and get to know each other and talk about whatever ended up coming up. Roy had brought his brother, and then there was so there was the 4 of us, and then the wives also, and they ended up having to leave after not too long, but Wesley and Joyce were able to hang out a little longer, and so we wandered around, and Wesley was curious about where I got the tractor stuck, so we walked out there and showed him the holes in the ground where I left some pretty big ruts from both the tractor and the trailer. And we talked about all kinds of different stuff. Showed him the thrones, because that was something they were interested in seeing. So that was kind of fun to show them. But it was just a good time. And the next time we'll be up in Lake Bay area, hanging out with Wesley and Joyce and whoever shows up there. So as always, thank you for watching. God bless you and yours. Stay safe and healthy out there.